Hello and good morning. Today we're talking about audiobooks. Yes, this entire week we have been talking about books in general, but we're talking about audiobooks today. How do we record our voice or hire somebody to record the book? How do we pop it up on Audible? What are some marketing strategies? How might we make the best of this situation? More on that later. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you. We're using a new setup today because the old computer is in the shop. It's in the shop in general. Let me see if I can play app sounds. Okay, cool. We're getting rid of that. Cool. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate you. We're going to dive in right now. Here we go.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
All right, yo. Let's get this party started. Cool. So, because I have a new computer right now, just a temporary one, I had to set everything up fresh, which means I had a chance to sort of experiment and try new things. So we got some different things going on. I'm super stoked on that. And again, good morning. So today we're talking about audiobooks. I have a lot of experience with audiobooks myself. For example, we could see here that my book Superfans, yes, there's a Kindle version. Yes, there is a hardcover version, but then we also have the audiobook version too. The interesting thing about audiobooks is, and we're going to be talking about Audible mostly because, you know, Audible is really the primo directory for Audible or for audiobooks. But interestingly enough, Audible connects with Amazon. And what's really cool is when you set up your book on Audible, it'll automatically be found later there. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool. What's up, Karma? I know you're at the airport. I think you're about to go on a flight. Hope all is well there. Welcome, everybody. Thanks again for being here. Everybody, Dr. Joella, Common Sense, FBA Hustle, Gabriella, Elton, Bernard, Zenya Vlada. This is so cool. It's so cool to see everybody here. And I know some of you are regular. Some of you might be new. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got a lot of great stuff coming your way. We have episode 200 coming within 10 days, which is pretty crazy. And we're going to talk about a few more topics before then. And on that day, we're going to have a special, probably 2-hour stream with some special guests, some new games, all that kind of stuff, some giveaways, prizes, etc. So we'll have some fun with that too. Cool. So let's get this party started. Let's continue talking about Audible. Now, Audible is interesting because if you look here, we have 341 ratings for Superfans, which is really cool. Thank you again so much for that. On Audible itself, sorry, I keep getting notifications here on this other computer. Let me turn that off really quick for you. Just 1 second. That's what happens when you have like 12 people in your Slack channel and all trying to focus and get stuff done. Boom. Okay, there we go. I see you're all digging the new camera angle. It's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. I still have the side angle here too, which is pretty dope. I love experimenting. You know, when you do something for 190 days straight, as long as you always continuously try to go, okay, well, what can I do to one-up myself yesterday? That's where I like to play the comparison game, right? How do I get better than I did yesterday? How do I make improvements? How do I do something where, like, I don't know, it might work out and you might have people go, yes, that's what we want, right? That's what we want. Anyway, super stoked on that. You're gonna see a bunch of new things happening over time here because I'm just getting stoked on it. Anyway. Let's talk about Superfans. Interestingly enough, you can see there's 279 ratings here. And there's another book called Superfans, which is not my book. As you can tell, it's not me on the cover. Pretty close to me, but not really. I'm just kidding. Not at all. Anyway, so it is a different platform that we're going to be uploading a book to. We're not uploading to Amazon, but Amazon will find your book. Now, if I go to Pat Flynn here, and then I go to, this is a different Pat Flynn, by the way. If I go here, you'll see an audiobook for Will It Fly also, which is pretty cool. So Will It Fly was my first audiobook, and it was done because this book, I actually didn't have time. I thought that it was going to be a bad thing that I didn't record the audio version at the same moment the Kindle version and the hardcover version came out. But it actually worked in my favor in two ways. Number one, it put all the audience onto the ebook and the paperback book, right? So there was no other way to get it. So that actually drove up rankings for those particular pieces. And in addition to that, what was really cool was I was able to hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, yes, even with a self-published book, which was pretty cool. Then what happened was when the audiobook finally came out, I actually recorded it later after it came out. I was able to get more people to get access to it. And the reason why that happened was because it became like another launch. It was like a second launch of the book, but in a different format. And I also did some other things in the recordings, which I'll share with you a little bit later, to entice those who already got the ebook or the paperback book, to go and get the audiobook as well. So I was able to get, in many cases, people buying 2 versions of the book instead of just one. So we did the same thing for Superfans. When we came out with Superfans, we actually did record the audiobook ahead of time, but purposefully didn't launch it until maybe a month or 2 later. This way, again, we could drive all the sales to just those couple pieces and then come out with the audiobook later to launch it again. And we'll talk about a little bit more about marketing your audiobook later, especially if you have a podcast. That's the beauty of this. It's like your home format, podcast, audio, obviously. And you can share little clips from the book. You can do fun things like that. And you can even have a particular podcast episode be one chapter. And if you've already recorded it, just be like, hey guys, today's something special. This is one of my favorite chapters in my book, Superfans. Give a listen, and then at the end have a call to action to go get your book, obviously, right? Which is pretty cool. Francis here says, I have both, which is cool. I love that. Thank you again. Morning Spanish and Go. Good to see you. David Jackson, Will It Fly's must read. David Jackson in the house. Everybody go follow David because he's awesome, especially in the world of podcasting. He helps out over at Libsyn, and they're just doing great things over there. And Dave is just an amazing human being. We got to spend some time together in Australia, got to know him really well. He's super cool. Love the guy. Anyway, thank you for the kind words about Will It Fly. But let's continue talking about audiobooks. Let's actually start from the beginning. Why might we want to, in fact, create an audiobook? Well, number one, if you were here on Wednesday, or what was it, Tuesday, in fact, you saw my income report for Will It Fly. In fact, let me pull this up for you. Let's go to Amazon. Will It Fly income report. How much did Will It Fly make? All the numbers behind my 2016 bestseller. So if we scroll down here, just to kind of remind you, we're going to go into the income report section. So here it is at the bottom. Let me zoom in for you. So ebook sales over the course of about 3 years, $32,000 from the ebook. You get about 70% of the overall price. Amazon keeps 30%. Paperback sales, we made a little bit more. Again, because it was self-published through what was once called CreateSpace, we were able to generate more income per book than people who do it traditionally. Obviously, I didn't get an advance for my own self-published book. And Kindle Unlimited royalties, which is sort of based on the number of pages that people read if they are, in fact, subscribed to Kindle Unlimited. And then audiobook. So in total, we have about $100,000 after 3 years from ebook and paperback sales. If I scroll down here, audiobook sales, 20,000 units, the same as the ebook. Same number of units as the ebook. And $96,000. So about the same as the paperback and ebook sales combined, which is pretty crazy. And then you get an additional fee for the bounty. Let's see what Audible's bounty is. Audible bounty fee or program. Wow, they changed it. It's $75 for every new Audible listener that you bring in now. So let's see if we can dig into this a little bit more. So starting February 1st, you can earn advertising fees when you refer qualifying Audible purchases with Amazon Associates program. So yes, this is different because you can actually promote your Audible subscriptions through Amazon Associates, or you can get a link from Audible itself, and they have an Audible Bounty referral program. I'm not going to go into how to get into that right now, but it's very easy. If you happen to have your book on Audible, you can earn, now I'm seeing, although this was published when, I don't know, it could be either $50 or $75. Anyway, you can make a lot of money by referring new subscribers to Audible, and they go and get your book first. So they go through your link, they sign up and subscribe, and you can get that much money. Why? Because a person who is subscribed to Audible will continuously pay. So it's called a loss leader in the world of software and marketing. But Audible is willing to reward us to bring new subscribers in because the hope is those subscribers will continue to stay on. So I think it was either, is it refer a friend? No. Podcast affiliate programs, Audible podcasts, Audible sponsorship codes. The other cool thing about, oh, here it is, ACX. So you might not know what ACX is. ACX, and this is effective as of August 1st. ACX.com is where, in fact, you actually go to submit your files. This is where you have to create an account. If I go into here, if I log in, let's see if I remember this. Okay, let's send me a one-time password. Okay, should be coming soon. Hold on. There we go. Got it. Number. Okay, hold on. I have to create a new password. Okay. Anyway, I can't get in right now. I think I might have used the wrong thing. But all that being said, all good. Case in point, just Bounty Sales can add an additional payment to you from your audiobook sales. We don't get that from regular Amazon book sales. So there's a lot more incentive to drive things to Audible, which is really neat. And again, if you can get a person, and there's actually a free credit that a person gets when they subscribe to Audible, right? So here is how I positioned it. This is what I did. I positioned it as, hey, if you want to get my book for free, subscribe to Audible and use your first credit. And that was a really, really good marketing message because they could get the book for free, but they have to go and subscribe to Audible. So subscribe to Audible and get my book for free, essentially was the marketing message. And I think I had, hundreds of people go in. As you could see, we had 490 people go in. And I was definitely more focused and aggressive on that in the beginning. I could probably do that even more, but it's actually a message I haven't shared in a number of years. So I could probably go a little bit more into that. Save Like a Bear says, can you just publish an audiobook, i.e. have no Kindle paperback version available at first? Yes, indeed you can. You can do this in a couple ways. Number one, just independently, just upload your audio. Now there's some audio specific things that you need to worry about. There are some requirements for the audio, and we'll get into that a little bit later over here at acx.com. Turn your book into an audiobook. Your audiobook will be sold through these online retailers, Audible, Amazon, iTunes, etc. But yes, you can just have an audiobook itself kind of independently through this, or you can actually work with Audible. If you happen to have a big brand, you can reach out to them, perhaps create what's called an Audible original. Audible and I had a conversation at one point where I was potentially going to be creating an Audible original, which means it is only an audiobook and not allowed to be sold in any other format or anywhere else. It would have to be an Audible original. Now, there's a lot of people, I know Mel Robbins has an audio original, and it's sort of Audible's take on the Netflix original, and I think that's really smart. And I'm trying to remember the terms or whatnot. We didn't go through with the deal because it just didn't make sense, and I didn't have a book ready for something like that at the time. But it was something where, for a certain period of time, it would be permanently there and only there. And then after that contract ended, it could go anywhere else. So I guess it's more on an individual basis, or I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, this is really cool. So this is acx.com. This is the resource that we use to go and actually upload a book. So actually, let me go in here, and I just want to try again to log in because it wasn't working before. That might not work because... Whoa. Yeah, this is a new computer, so I don't have my password thing set up for it. I apologize. Let me try one more thing. Okay. I gotta go to my email. But I want to go in here to show you sort of what it looks like. You also get some really, really cool analytics to go with it too. I apologize I didn't do this a little bit earlier. But anyway, we can still talk about this. I do want to talk about the recording of it and all that kind of stuff. Okay, please approve. Oh, it's because I'm on a new system. Okay. It says someone is attempting to sign into your account. Oh, man. All right. Well, that was a flop. Anyway, sorry guys. Well, anyway, let's talk about ACX.com a little bit more because they have some specific audio requirements. What's really interesting about ACX is you can actually be a voice actor, right? You could be a voice actor and help people who want to have their book read by somebody else other than themselves. You can come here and potentially work with them, and that is something that a lot of people do. But we're here to talk about getting your book authored here and read by yourself, which you can do. Now, the big thing that I thought was that it was just going to be really easy. I have podcasting equipment already, so why don't I just kind of record it myself? And I found that, and this was advice from people who I had reached out to who had done audiobooks before. That's what I always do when I'm trying something new. I remember back in 2016, I was like, okay, I want to record the audiobook. Hey friends, who here has published an audiobook? What would you recommend? And there were so many people who said, I wish I read it myself, because they worked through a publisher or they just didn't have the time. They gave their book to somebody else and they read it. And they always felt that there was a little bit of a disconnect between the audiobook and the audience because they weren't the ones reading it. I would highly recommend trying to read this book yourself and record it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to record this myself. I have equipment. And my friends were like, no. You want to go into a studio to do this, right? And I said, well, why do we need to go to a studio? I have the equipment. It's like free. I can just do it myself. And they're like, well, you could, but there's two things. Number one, you want this to be mastered at the highest quality audio possible. And although you could do that at home, there are sound engineers and people who can actually make it sound even better than you can, right? I'm not an audio engineer. I'm a podcaster, and I can get something sounding really good for MP3s and Apple and Spotify. But an audiobook, there's just a different level of quality that is required. And it's so important for ACX when you upload to acx.com that it has to sound really good. There's humans there on the other end who listen to it to make sure it upholds to the quality. And working with a sound engineer, you can essentially guarantee that. Number two, I didn't know this was going to be a problem. I actually didn't believe it, but it came true. Some of my friends were saying, well, hey, guess what? You're going to make a ton of mistakes reading your own book and you won't even know. I said, are you serious? It's my own book. Like, I can imagine reading somebody else's book and not quite understanding it and maybe making some mistakes here and there, but reading my own book, making mistakes, that doesn't make sense. And I went into the first day, I booked a studio here in San Diego, California. In fact, there's one pretty close to my home. And what happened was I started recording, and within the first chapter, within the introduction, I started fumbling. It's so weird. And I don't know if it was because I was nervous or what, but it was definitely something that was very surprising. It was actually quite mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing. How many mistakes I made. And the sound engineer who had access to the PDF file was reading along with me, and they would just go, oh, sorry, you made a mistake there, or hey, you pronounced this incorrectly, or hey, you repeated that line. And I was like, I did? So anyway, having a sound engineer there was very important because they helped me erase the mistakes I was making, and I was making a ton of mistakes. But I started to get into the flow. I started to get a little bit better. It was 2 days straight, 6 hours each day to record Will It Fly, and it was about a day and a half, 8 hours each day, so about 12 hours each time to read these books, right? Plus, as you can tell in the chat here, everybody's like, oh, I prefer when I hear from the author. And I think that's really important. Whether you are a personal brand or not, I still think that having your own voice there can be really great. Now, thankfully, right around the time of Will It Fly, Jab, 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 Right Hook came out from Gary Vaynerchuk. And Jab, 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 Right Hook was a book that was both physical copy, and that's how I was actually able to get Gary Vaynerchuk on my podcast, because I wanted to support him. I bought a number of copies, gave away a bunch. I still think I have like 10 or 20 copies in storage right now because I wasn't able to give them away fast enough. But anyway, he also had an Audible version. And in the audio version, I would say 5 to 10% of the audio did not match. He actually was reading his own book and then would go off the rails in his own Gary V kind of way. And I thought that was really, really neat to have him just kind of go off script and kind of like break the fourth wall. Is it fourth wall? Third wall. Break the fourth wall to talk directly to me. It felt like, he was reading the book and he was kind of talking to me and just narrating it. But then he would be like, all right, guys, let me just be real with you. And he would go into it right there. And I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. Yeah, Gary, Luke says, hey, I know that guy. I just heard him do a Q&A for Teachable. Yeah, how did that go, by the way? I wasn't able to make it, but that was really cool to have him open the day during that event. Fourth wall, thank you. So I was like, hey, how can I do this? So during certain moments of the book, I would purposefully break off from reading while recording, and I'd let my sound engineer know this ahead of time just so he wasn't like, what the heck is going on? And I kind of just either told stories. That's the easiest thing to do. Just like, hey, let me go a little bit deeper into the story for you since you're here. I'm going to go off script a little bit. It actually is a nice surprise. I found that was very surprising when I was listening to Gary's book. And I've gotten a lot of comments from people who say, oh, I love when you just shared a little bit more information. It almost makes it feel like you're talking and like you're actually listening to the person there with you. Especially if you're in the earbuds, it's like, oh my gosh, you're like talking to me right now. It felt really cool. So I wanted to offer the same thing. And like I said, I got a lot of comments about that too. This is the thing that helps encourage people who bought the physical book or got the ebook to go and grab the Audible version as well. And so if you can pull a chapter out after you've recorded, one that perhaps has a lot of inserts like that in it, that could be a great marketing strategy to get even people who got the ebook to go and get the audiobook too. I will say those were the moments where I fumbled the most because it kind of comes unplanned. You can script those unplanned moments too if you'd like, but I wanted it to be a little bit more real. And so there are moments both within Will It Fly and even more so in Superfans where I go off script and I just start talking a little bit more and telling more stories. And again, it just makes it feel more real during that time, which is pretty cool. Sweet. Other recording tips for you if you're going to get into this. Again, being in a studio, you have these professional mics. They're typically ones that hang from the ceiling or really high looking, really tall microphones that, you feel like you're in this band or something. Typically you might go and head into a studio, and again, it's worth it. I think it cost like $30 an hour or $40 an hour. So, I mean, it's a little bit of an investment. You can do it all for under $1,000, plus to have somebody edit it. It might cost about $1,000, I would say, if you're going to hire a really good studio to go and record and also edit. I would care to guess about $1,000 to $1,200 to get that done. This is part of the benefit of reading it yourself or paying somebody less to have it be read for you. But if you really want it done right, if you don't have connections to an audio engineer friend already who can perhaps do this for you or get you a discount, I would say that's going to be about the price point that you could expect to pay to get this professionally done. And of course, if you already have a business and you have some budget for that, that's great. If not, the audiobook might be something you might want to reserve for later or attempt to do it yourself. But there's some really interesting requirements that Audible requires in order for the submissions to be indeed approved. You have to say things like, where's my book? You have to say things like, you have to go, this is Superfans by Pat Flynn, narrated by Pat Flynn, published by Get Smart Books or Flynn Industries LLC. There's and of course, if you go into ACX, they'll give you all the things that you need to say, but there are some things like that. Then, at the beginning of each chapter, you have to say each chapter and then pause a little bit, because this is how the Audible system works. You might have to say something like, so, prologue, right? I would go, prologue. I was unsure of what to expect, and quite frankly, a little scared of what my wife April was about to show me. And it's interesting because you have to really, when you read, you don't want to be monotonous, right? Because I could read like this, right? I was unsure of what to expect, and quite frankly, a little scared of what my wife April was about to show me. There's a teaser if there wasn't one. I was unaware of what to expect, and quite frankly, a little scared of what my wife April was about to show me. So adding some inflection in your voice can be really great. Thank you, My Castle Life. I appreciate you. Adding interesting pauses and dynamics, speeding up in some places, slowing down, and enunciating, right? But yeah, Peasant Uprising is correct. They will need to splice up all the bits so users can jump to and fro, right? If I were to go prologue, I was unsure of what to expect, and quite frankly, a little scared. So there's not enough gap in there, right? Let's do another chapter. And you might have like quotes or something. And then you have to say the number of the chapter. Chapter 3, Create Quick Wins. Before I started my business, I was a huge personal finance nerd. Every paycheck I received from my architecture job was carefully deconstructed, and I knew exactly where all of it was going, down to the penny. Now, if I mess up, I don't have to start over at the beginning of the chapter. This is, again, the nice thing about having an engineer, because they will mark when you mess up, and then you just pick up on the last sentence that you did well at. So I'm going to make a mistake on purpose and just kind of, like, you can get to the point where you kind of can understand and know where to go back and change, but the engineer, if you need some help, will often say, like, okay, pick it up from down to the penny. All right, so okay, I will. My 401k was growing steadily, and it was normal for me to spend some time My 401k was growing steadily, and it was normal for me to... My 401k was growing steadily, and it was normal for me to spend some time every week calculating the growth trajectory of my accounts 40 years down the road. Age 65, here I come. So that's kind of how it works when you're in the studio, because, and again, you're repeating things a bunch sometimes. If you feel that you said something incorrectly, like you did the inflection points incorrectly, this is where you can go, actually, let me do that one more time, and then they'll mark that previous one as incorrect, or somehow in their audio system they'll mark it as incorrect, and they'll just replace it with the new one, if that makes sense. There's going to be some cases as well where you're going to have something like this, right? Oh, there's an image. What do I do with the image? This is an audiobook. So I might go like this. Superfans exist at the top of something I like to call the pyramid of fandom. They're the smallest portion of your audience, but they're the biggest catalysts for your brand and the beating heart of your business. And so anyway, what I would then do is go, and I want you to imagine, for those of you listening right now, a pyramid divided into 4 different sections all the way up. At the bottom of the pyramid, you have your casual audience, the largest part. The part above that, as we get smaller, the active audience, then the connected audience, and then superfans at the top. So just a little bit of a description of the image, something that at least a person listening can go, okay, I can kind of get that. That will help. Let's see. See, Martin, stay safe, buddy. Thanks for being here. Then at the end of these chapters, in fact, there are exercises. So it's like a piece within the book itself. So as you can see, this chapter ends here, but then the exercise for that chapter is at the end. So then, same thing, I would go, exercise. In this exercise, you're going to get better at shaking every hand that comes your way. Step 1, audit your communication channels to find messages you haven't responded to. These could be emails that slipped into your spam folder, blog comments you failed to notice, or Facebook messages you just forgot to answer, right? So again, there's a systematic approach to it, but the biggest thing is just know that at the beginning of your book, you have to say something like, "This is Superfans" by Pat Flynn, or "This is Superfans, the easy way to stand out, grow your business," or excuse me, Superfans, or "This is Superfans, the easy way to stand out, grow your tribe, and build a successful business" by Pat Flynn. Narrated by Pat Flynn. Published by Flynn Industries, LLC, right? Cool. What else? Water, dude. Oh my gosh. You need to drink lots and lots and lots and lots of water. I would drink 16 ounces before you get to the studio, and have a hydro flask or something there, because in between each chapter, you got to stay hydrated. You're pushing a lot of air through your lungs during this time. You're going to get a sore throat if you don't do that. Your voice will change, and it's just you're going to start to hear that dry mouth sound. And the dry mouth sound is interesting because it sounds wet, if that makes sense. When you have a dry voice, you can start to, I'm exaggerating this obviously, but the smacking means you have a dry mouth. And we don't want that in the audio, obviously. Welcome to super fans. We don't want that, right? So drink lots of water. Take breaks. Like if you're just feeling a little tired or you're feeling like you've been at it for a while, just ask the engineer to take a break. I mean, you're paying them, so you can do whatever you want, obviously. So that's a tip. Another tip is to bring an iPad. So bring an iPad with your book. You do not want to read a physical copy of your book for the audio. Here's why. You can hear the pages flipping. Okay? So you can hear the pages flipping. Grandma Goody says, question, does Audible have a selection or audition process to select which books are publishable on their platform? Pat ASMR. No way, that'd be crazy. They listen to make sure the audio quality is good for these books that are actually published by people, right? So what I mean by that is you can't just pop a podcast on there, right? Podcasts are not for Audible. Books are. So it has to be formatted like a book, but you don't have to have the physical copy of the book, but it has to be in that same sort of format, right? It's not like an audio show or anything like it's a book, but it's an audio format. And the audio has to be to the highest standard quality. I think it's like 256 kbps. I can't remember exactly what the requirement is, but again, it has to come out at a very high level. These are larger files than your podcast files. They're not MP3s at all. I think they're waves or perhaps even just like AIFF files. I can't remember. But again, all the requirements are there. They're quite detailed. It's not worth talking about right now. But when you sign up for ACX, again, that's the place where you then eventually put in all your metadata for your show. You pop in every individual chapter. You name the chapters. You break them up into sections. There's a specific audio file for your intro, which is the, hey, this is Superfans, or this is Superfans, blah, 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 by Pat Flynn, narrated by, that's like its own audio file. All those things go into Audible through ACX. And then there's about a 30-day waiting period. This was, in fact, something I was reminded of with Superfans because we were planning on launching our Audible book 2 weeks after the physical product launch. The moment we launched our ebook and physical book, we submitted to Audible because we had those files already available. And then it took about a month. And it wasn't supposed to take that long, but it did. And it kind of, we just moved our marketing efforts later, but that was kind of frustrating. So just know it's going to take some time as well. So get it up ahead of time and get it ready. And then in order to connect it to your Amazon book, it kind of just happens automatically because it's the same title, same author. They'll be able to put those things together since Audible and Amazon work together. Right? Cool. But I will say again, water. Also, try to have, so I remember with Will It Fly, we had to re-record the stuff I recorded on the second day in the morning because I came in around noon on day one, and it was noon to about 6 p.m., and I got through about half of the book. And then I came in the next morning at 8 a.m. I wanted to get an early start, and the timbre of my voice was different. It was lower, right? Like when you wake up, you kind of have a more groggy voice, and you have less water, and like it just sounded deeper. And it was like, "Will It Fly" by Pat Flynn. I was like, what? Right? So timbre of your voice. So anyway, what other recording tips? Stand up when you're recording the book. They're going to recommend that too, but that's how you get the full diaphragm working for you for your voice. Have the iPad there too, and be able to flip through with the iPad again, so you're not flipping through pages and you don't hear it. I would also, whatever you need to have some energy, whether it's an energy bar or coffee or anything like that. Trying to just put myself in the studio. Get some behind the scenes photos as well. When you are in the studio, it's really cool. right? You can get sort of double usage out of that opportunity. You're not only recording your audiobook, but you're, number one, snapping photos for Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and be like, hey guys, check it out. I'm recording the audiobook for this book. Make sure to check it out when it comes out. Or hey, get the hardcover version here. I'm adding some even new stuff that you haven't, that you aren't able to even read in the book because I'm just feeling it today or something. So you can get some cool timbre. Timbre. Thank you. Anyway. Get some behind the scenes photos. Bring a videographer or your friend or your spouse or even your kid over to just take some video footage of you in the studio. Put in some like Backstreet Boy music in the background to make it look like you're recording for the band or something. Have some fun with it, man. Like, it is hard work. Some of the hardest work I've done was going into the studio and hunkering down for 6 hours to just record myself reading. It can feel a little boring sometimes too. But remember, this is your book. Visualize and imagine those people on their car rides, on travel, listening to your book, getting some really cool thoughts. The other thing that I'm and again, this is just a brain dump of all things Audible and audiobook right now. There are probably words that you're going to use in the book that are about those who are reading it. But when you're doing the audiobook, they're not reading the book, they're listening to it. So you're going to have to either on the fly or just mark, or you can do maybe if you have the, actually, if you were smart, you could do a search for all where it says read in your book and just change it to listen, and then just read off of that PDF file instead on your iPad or something, so that when you say, for those of you reading this book, instead you go, for those of you listening to this book. That way it just, again, is more relevant to those who are listening too. I want it that way. Tell me why. Cool. This is good. This is good. This is good. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why. I never wanna hear you say. Okay, sorry. I want it that way. Hey. Okay. Self-Improvement Addict says, hey, Pat, I know this is not related to the topic, but I implemented your advice and I got 100 plays in a day. Thank you. I heard that Amazon is launching podcasts on Audible. Is it true? They're not launching it on Audible, but it's going to be Amazon podcasts. So whether they work with Audible or not, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, podcast. We're actually in the middle of researching and submitting our podcast to Amazon. We're going to learn as much as we can about it and best practices, how it works before we start sharing that information and teaching our podcast students ourselves. Cool. Such valuable information. You're welcome. All right, let's go. So the submission process, again, it takes time. It'll take some time for the person who you hire perhaps to edit it. You might be able to, if you have the audio equipment yourself and you can get through the mistakes and you can get through all that, you could record it yourself if you want, save some money that way, and then hire an engineer, an audio engineer, to then master those files and get them to the point at which they're ready for Audible. I would look for, if you are going to look for somebody to work with, look for somebody who has experience with Audible formatted books. That way, there's just, they know exactly what you need. They're going to tell you what's missing or something that needs to be re-recorded or anything like that, or chopped up, or little segments that you need to record for intros or outros, etc. At the end of your book, you need to do the same thing. This was, or you just listened to Superfans by Pat Flynn, narrated by Pat Flynn, published by Flynn Industries, LLC, or actually it's SPI Media, LLC now. Cool. But yeah, you can get up on Amazon right now if you'd like. And again, we just always like to take the approach of like Apple, like let's see how other people are doing it first, and let's do it the right way, if you will. Amazon Music, that's where it is. Thank you. Cool. I love both messages on your shirt. Teach love and teach what you love, right? Teach love, teach what you love. This was an old school Teachable shirt that isn't even available anymore. You can see Teachable down right there. Okay. What about book illustration, art, and design? Who does that? This will be a separate person, right? And typically, if you have a Kindle version of the book and or a physical copy of the book, right? Like here, with Will It Fly. It has to be designed in a square format. I can't remember exactly what the dimensions are, but it's quite large. I would not be surprised if it's similar to podcasting, where it's like 1400 by 1400 or 3000 by 3000 even. But as you can see, the title, the graphics look the same, but they are indeed different graphics. It's not just shrinking it automatically. You're going to have to, when you submit to ACX, you're definitely going to have to have another square version of your book designed. I would indeed have this be done by the same artist if possible, or you might have files from your original artist, and you might be able to just grab them from them and then turn it into square. And of course, it looks a little bit different, as you can tell. There's a little more on the outside. You see the little shadow of the plane. It's still there, but as you can see, it's a little bit smaller there too. But that's the only thing you need. That's the only thing you need. When the audiobook plays, that's what shows up on the device. That's what shows up on Audible and on Amazon, and then you can go from there. I'm going to give it one more shot to sign into ACX, y'all. Tell me why. I don't think I did it right. Tell me why. Yeah, I don't know why it's not working the way it should. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Okay, hold on. All these passwords aren't available. Okay, now I can try signing in. Two-step verification. It's going to work after the stream. I know it will. It always does that. Okay, 7, 8, No, it's not working. It might be because my team took over that part and perhaps have created a SPI Media version of that where those books are being done. Anyway, don't forget the exclamation point. Cool. Anyway, thanks y'all. The Audible version of the book, again, let's talk about promoting it a little bit. It's really cool because they also show up, the audiobook can show up in the rankings on Amazon. This is why when you launch your audiobook, if you choose to do the same strategy that I do, which is to launch the Audible book later, then make a big deal out of it, run a contest perhaps, just do whatever you can to get people to download it within a short period of time. The rankings work the same way as they do on Amazon, as they do with podcasts. It's about velocity. It's about acceleration. If you can get a whole bunch of people downloading it and listening to it at the same time, then you're going to be able to outrank others who perhaps are not able to have the same amount of velocity as you at that time. And it'll give you additional exposure. I remember with Superfans, for example, Superfans was ranking, the Audible book was ranking higher than the actual book for a brief moment in time. Let's see if I can scroll down. You can see this is book number 5,409. If I go to communication skills, we'll be able to see it here. So communication skills, you can see this is all Amazon bestsellers. The number one Amazon bestseller right now is an Audible book. The same version is here at number 3, which is really interesting. And if I go down to, what was it, 80 something? It'll be on page 2. Interesting. Look at a lot of oranges up here. These all white. And then, bam, Superfans. Number 79 now. That's cool. Hey, did some of you guys leave reviews just recently? Because I think the number just went up. This is a great book, by the way. Resonate by Nancy Duarte. She is the one who helped Steve Jobs with his presentations. And this book was very helpful for me when I started presenting. Let's see. Oh, cool. All right. So velocity, acceleration. You can see your audiobook rise in the rankings, and especially when it just comes out, you also get the addition of potentially getting ranked on the new releases list. There are new release categories within each category, as well as overall Amazon new releases. So again, just Amazon in general, it's all about velocity. So even if your book has been up for a while, you can run campaigns to get it done. Now, I want to talk about pricing really quick, because the Audible book price is set for you, which is interesting, as at least the from my understanding, if that makes sense. Thank you, Severant, for buying the book. Everybody who's purchased it or got access to it, thank you so much. But as a Kindle, that's cool too. However you can get access to it, I want to help you. That's the important thing. What was I saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. We're talking about Audible books and rankings. Totally just missed it. I paid 1 whole credit on Audible for your book. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate you for that. Anyway, lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. I have 12 credits. Wow, I haven't got an Audible book for a while. Oh, pricing. Thank you, Lisa. So pricing, from my understanding, pricing of your book is done for you. And it's based on the length of your book, the last time I remembered. And so let's check out the pricing for superfans here, although on Audible. So this is within the $19.95 range for superfans. And again, free with a 30-day trial. That's what we continue to promote, right? Will It Fly? $19.95 as well. See, this one is a little bit shorter. Regular price $7 because it's a short book. There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly. A 5-minute book. Wow. See, this one is a 10-hour book, and the price is $35. Right? I remember this story. There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. Something rhyming with the next song. Anyway. Will Durst, 2 minutes. So as you can see, in order to get something up, you don't have to have the best artwork. No offense, Will Durst. You don't have to have, let's see audiobooks. Maybe that'll, okay, so that wasn't an audiobook. That was a radio program or performance. Let's go for 10 to 20 hours. You'll see the prices for these a little bit higher. Oh, that's because it's Fly. Let's go to business and careers. No, I don't want Will It Fly. Okay, Audible. Browse. Let's go to bestsellers. Here's a $40 book, 16 hours. An Audible original. Dune, a 21-hour book, $47. So that's pretty crazy, especially when you consider that I believe you get either 60 or 70% of that. So for a $40 book, I mean, you're making 24 to 30 bucks per book sale. Question, how do you deal with the local library having your audiobook? You know, the same way that you deal if they have your regular book. I mean, there's not really a sense of like, hey, you're stealing from me. I mean, you're getting your information out there. It's legit. I encourage it. But I'd rather, obviously, people be able to take it on their own and get it and have me make some money doing that too. But yeah, $40 seems like a lot, but when you consider this is like 16 hours, I mean, that's going to be I mean, you're not going to listen to the whole book at once, but still. Ready Player 2, y'all. This is the one I'm looking forward to. Bam. There's J.K. Rowling down there. 16 hours, $35. Pre-order, free with 30-day trial. This is a good book, can't hurt me. He was a Navy SEAL. Harry Potter, Atomic Habits, another fantastic book. Look at this. Wow. Dude, 44,000 ratings on the audiobook alone. James, who's a good friend of mine. Wow. So cool. Miss Boy says, Pat, you just made me remember a happy memory when I was 5, listening to the story. There was an old lady book. I'm smiling now, Pat. That's so cool. That's so dope. I'm glad that happened. I love little moments like that. Okay, so what questions might you have about the audiobook process? Again, we go through acx.com to do this. That's the distribution platform where you upload your audio files, whether you get them engineered by somebody else at a studio or you record them, you hire somebody to master those files, or you happen to figure it out yourself. You submit it there. It can take up to 30 days, perhaps more, depending on their workload. And then you can connect it to your Amazon book, and that kind of can happen automatically. We talked about pricing. We talked a little bit about marketing, but you would market your audiobook just like you would market your regular books, using the connections that you have, and perhaps get podcast interviews, be on other people's shows. But of course, because it's audio, you have the opportunity to take that multimedia format and share it in interesting ways elsewhere, like on your podcast, in little clips on social media. Maybe you take a minute from one of your books and you pop it on there and say, this is a clip from my book. Check out my book here. Try to find, because it's an Audible book, you can find a lot of good people to buy your book through podcasts. Again, this is why podcast interviews are so key, whether you have a podcast yourself or not. Rob says, hello all, what did I miss? You missed the entire presentation, but it's okay, because there's going to be a replay. This is all about, again, audiobooks and the ability for us to take these books that we've written and put them onto a platform like Audible through the ACX platform. This is, again, the distribution area. Turn your book into an audiobook, and you can go here. How it works, I am an author who narrates. I'm ready to go. Make sure your audiobook is ready for upload. So obviously this is like step 1. And here are the submission requirements. Be consistent in overall sound and formatting. Include opening and closing credits. This is Superfans by Pat Flynn. Read by Pat Flynn. Or narrated by Pat Flynn. Published by Get Smart Books. Be comprised of all mono or stereo files. Again, that's something that I think why having an audio engineer can work. Include a retail audio sample that is between 1 and 5 minutes long. That's a sample that when you go to Audible, for example, you can click on the sample. Actually, is mine up there? What sample is used for Superfans?
Part 1. Casual audience to active audience. We begin our journey at the base of the pyramid of fandom, which is the biggest segment, your casual audience members. These are the people who come to you randomly. They stumble upon your brand through a link on another website or a Google or YouTube search, or maybe they found you through social media, or even by word of mouth. They're here because of their curiosity, but they may not stick around. They could take you or leave you.
Cool. So as you can hear, really good quality, that sort of narration tone, but you still get the inflections in the voice, right? It's not just Superfans, the easy way to stand out, grow your tribe, and build a successful business. It's Superfans, the easy way to stand out, grow your tribe, and build a successful business. And again, remember, we need to talk a little bit more slowly. So on my podcast and here on the live stream, I can talk quite quickly sometimes. When you're reading these books, especially just for the more general public, we want to make sure that it is something that can be heard. Now, yes, they do have the ability to slow down the audio or to speed it up. I actually listen to all of my books 2x speed, but again, that can work for you. Let's see, what else are the requirements here? So here it is. 192 kbps or higher MP3. certain decibel rate, have room tone at the beginning and end, free of extraneous sounds. That's important. And again, the engineer will know that, but you actually have to record the actual room sound because rooms have sound. There's fans and there's ducts and there's, a tone. And what Audible does was it will remove that tone because they have that sample. They can go, okay, wherever you get that sound in the regular files, let's remove it. Like let's subtract it. And that way you get a really crisp audio. Contain only one chapter or section per file with the section header read aloud. So that's all that. Your submitted audiobook must be narrated by a human. It would be interesting to test. Oh, I don't have it on this computer, but I have a tool called Descript, which you can type in after you submit your voice. You can type things and it will read it off in your voice. And it actually is pretty close and very scary. I shared that once here on the show before. I'm wondering if that might be one day I can just upload my written book to Descript or something like that, and then collect the audio automatically and then submit it to Audible. I wouldn't recommend doing that because it doesn't always do it perfectly. It'll say certain things incorrectly, or it won't just understand the actual context of what it is you're talking about. Anyway, Jennifer says, question, when are you going to do a session on those awesome Instagram videos you've been doing? Or did I miss it already? You could definitely do a mini course on that. Thank you, Jennifer. This is the Instagram Reels. I came out with another one yesterday, another one coming out today. I'm really excited about it, and I've been having a lot of fun with this short format stuff. Instagram, in fact, now allows you to do a 30-second reel. This is brand new, people. 30 seconds, not just 15. And you get a 10-second timer now, not just a 3-second timer when it comes to preparing for the shot after you hit record. Anyway, Kenya Kelly would be who I would go to right now if you want to learn how to do a lot of this stuff. Kenya Kelly, Keenya. I actually interviewed her about this and how it's not just like a dancing platform, whether it's TikTok or Reels. But I might maybe one day next week share a little bit about how I do that. I might, in fact, create one for you on the fly. That might be kind of interesting, actually. Thank you for that. Cool. How is that program written? I don't know. They just have crazy tech for sure. So anyway, we're at the end of our show now. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Let me see if there's anything else interesting here. The other cool thing about the Audible stuff is you can get promo codes. They give you 50 promo codes. Last time I remember, they give you 50 promo codes, which means a person can go into Audible, if they already have an Audible account, get your book and get it for free. So you can do these in contests as well, 50 of them. Now, obviously, every time you do one of those, it's not a sale and it doesn't count for any earnings. But it's a nice thing that you can have access to that actually even Amazon doesn't give us for our books. Amazon allows us to make our books free for a period of time, our ebooks at least, through Kindle Select. But that's only 5 days within a 90-day period that you're able to do that. But yeah, let's see what else. So this is the terms. So pay for production or do it yourself. Yeah. So when you pay for production, you pay so you can get it produced by ACX as well, apparently. And then the bounty payment for $75 on top of that. $75 bonuses can be earned when your audiobook is the first listen of a new Audible member. Isn't that cool? So you can position it again as, hey, get my book for free because they get a credit when they become a new member. And if your book is the first audiobook they get, you get $75, yo. That's crazy. But if you do it yourself, like we were just talking about, zero cost to you to set up, 40% for exclusivity. And we have ours exclusive on Amazon because you could also put it on exclusive distribution versus you get to retain the rights to distribute it elsewhere, like if you wanted to sell it on your own website, etc. So 40%. So your $19.95 book, you're going to earn, $8 from that, which is legit, right? For a for a piece of like digital product being sold again and again. So really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to be writing a book, it would behoove you to write an audiobook too, or to read an audiobook as well. I think it's a big mistake if you don't. And I would recommend you read it yourself. So thank you again for coming in today. I appreciate you. Even those of you in the back over there, I appreciate you for coming in. And I hope you can come in tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, which means we're going to have some fun, play some games, do some giveaways. And maybe I'll give away audio versions of my Audible book because I have promo codes for that. And I can give away like a bunch of them. But I have to sign into ACX first somehow. I have to remember. So anyway, thank you again so much for coming in. I appreciate you. This was a fun chat about something that I just hadn't even thought of for a while because this is book week and Audible books have been very profitable for me, and I hope they will be for you too. So good luck to you. Thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate you. And as always, Team Flynn for the win.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Hey, y'all, thanks so much for coming in. You're amazing. Keep up the good work. I look forward to seeing some of you later at the Teachable Summit in about an hour. And I'm here to help. Day 191 tomorrow. See you there. Bye, y'all.
Bruh.